here with Stitching Hearts Worldwide. We are going to demonstrate today the flannel receiving blankets. In your kit, you'll receive 2 pieces of flannel, contrasting, and the first thing you want to do is spread it out and get them kind of stuck together. Flannel's really nice that it has a little bit of a stick to it, and you want to make sure that it's squared up and evened up, and also to cut off the selvages. So we'll cut off this selvage because I've done the other one already, just by lining everything up and making sure, because this has this little bit of white showing, and the selvage can tend to shrink a little more than the rest of the fabric if you don't true them up. So we'll just cut that off, and we've got everything even. Now we're just going to open it up and put a few pins after we've smoothed it all out, got it all even. I'm going to stick a few pins just to hold things together while we sew it. Okay, now that we've got it kind of pinned together, I'm going to fold it back up in half and then half again. What we're trying to do here is make all our 4 corners even, because we want to round the corners. Now, a really good way to make a nice rounded corner is to use a plate and put that down. And you can either draw it or you can use your rotary cutter and cut a nice round around your plate. Today we're just going to draw it on. So we're going to make a nice rounded corner following a plate, or you can eyeball it and you can use your rotary cutter to cut it, or you can use a pair of scissors, whatever you have, what works best. This just makes a nice round corner, easier to sew and also turn, and a nice finished blanket. So now we're going to open that up and we're going to take it to the sewing machine. So now we've got it at the sewing machine, and we're going to sew a 1/2-inch seam all the way around. So now we've got it sewn all the way around, and we've left an opening of about, I usually do about a hand width on a project like this as a marking, and we'll take out the pins that we used to hold it together, and we'll find this opening and we'll turn it inside out. So we've got it turned out. We want to work out the corners, and then we're going to take it to the ironing board and press all the way around so that we can top stitch it on the iron, and roll out the edges as we go to get a nice crisp edge so that we can stitch it. And when we stitch it closed, you'll also be stitching that opening closed as well. So just work your way all the way around, working out the corners. Okay, so now we've got it all pressed, and we're going to take it to the sewing machine. So you've got that little opening that you turned it with. I usually try to start there so I know for sure that I'm going to catch it. And then I'm just going to sew about 1/4 of an inch away, and that will encase everything. And you're just going to sew that all the way around the blanket. Now, okay, the last thing we want to do to keep the blanket together when it gets washed, we're going to sew a little square or rectangle. So I found the middle of the quilt by folding it in quarters and marking that in the center. And then I'm just putting a couple of dots in here. I'm going to make this a rectangle. If you have a marker that can disappear when you iron it, then you can do it that way and draw your lines. Then you'll take it to the sewing machine, and you're just going to stitch a square or a rectangle together in the middle of this to hold it together when it's washed. So if you'd like to do a fancier stitch along the edge, you can sew a serpentine stitch or any other of the stitches that you might have on your sewing machine to finish it off instead of a straight stitch. But whatever you have will work, and then you've got your finished blanket.